Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 44.
Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast with your host, Jack Mountain Bushcraft School founder and Master Main Guide, Tim Smith.
I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm a registered Master Main Guide, and in 1999 I founded the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School. We help people become more skilled, more knowledgeable, more experienced, and more confident outdoors by using traditional skills, a few simple tools, and field-based experience. Whether you're looking to go from city slicker to competent outdoor professional, want to experience a remote expedition, or just want to learn a few new outdoor skills, we've got you covered. You can check out the show notes to this and all of our podcasts at blog.jackmtn.com. When you're there, click on the podcast button. And if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review on iTunes. Lastly, the best way to keep up with our programs and trips is to join our email newsletter, and you can do that at jmbnews.com. Welcome back to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 44. It's Wednesday morning, coffee in the guide shack, August 22nd, the middle of week one of our 45th long-term immersion program here at the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School. We just started the fall semester, and we're already in the thick of it. I'm joined here this morning with Colin and Christopher, and the three of us make up the instructional team for this fall. How we doing this morning, boys?
Good. Yep, can't complain.
Well, you could always complain.
I'm not a Yankee. You can complain. I won't.
I mean, the coffee's not hot enough. Whatever. All right.
Yeah.
It's cold out.
So today we have four topics to talk at you with today. Number one is current events. We want to talk about the beginning of the semester and kind of what we've been doing so far. This semester is a big change from past semesters in that we have a fully functional second teaching area, complete with a well and a hand pump and a cooking area, and a bunch of rocket stoves. And so far, so good. Both Colin and Christopher are living there, and this is the new South Moose Vegas teaching area. So tell me how life is in South Moose Vegas.
It's been kind of cool seeing it change. I did a lot of the clearing beforehand with just bringing down the trees, and then it's just as soon as people showed up, it stopped looking like a desolate field with stumps in it, and now it looks, I don't know, like people live there, which I guess
like a desolate field with stumps in it with people there?
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like
tripping,
a
falling
slab
over
city,
them,
if you will.
Yeah. But no, it's nice. It's kind of, we were just talking earlier about how they've only been here 2 days and they're already kind of making it home. They're putting up, somebody bought solar lights to put in the little garden lights to put in put up near the tables, and it's all, they've moved in officially and
nice.
Totally.
That's a discussion that I often have with people on trips and just about anywhere, that it always amazes me how quickly just a random spot in the woods or on a riverbank becomes home. And even if, this summer, canoe expedition, I don't know how many different camps we had, but we're out for a month. And even if you're just there for one night, really, you're there for like 12 hours maybe total.
Yeah.
But even in that period of time, when you're packing up and leaving, you're always like, oh, I kind of hate to leave this spot. It feels so homey. And I think that's an amazing thing that happens. I wonder if other species do that besides us humans, right? Where we sort of, get our meat hooks into a place and make it very home-like.
Yeah, basically wherever we lay our hat is home, and that's kind of the...
So in order to solve the homeless problems in America, we just got to provide everybody with hats?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I think if we had a
place
hat
to
drive.
hang them.
Yeah.
We're solving stuff.
Yeah, 2020, running for office.
Oh boy. But yeah, it's been cool to see them kind of get into the swing of things, and they kind of get a taste of how the systems up here work and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. So topic 2 is system-based approaches, right? That's kind of what we do. It's how we live here. It's what we teach here. And for every problem that we need to solve, or every aspect of living outdoors, we have a corresponding system in order to make things simple and easy. And the beauty of a systems-based approach is that we're not, trying to solve the same problem 100 different times. You solve it once, and then you have the system in place to make things simple and easy. So we've got systems for food storage, for cooking, for doing dishes, for water, toilets, the whole 9 yards. And those are all just basic living here, basic living with no infrastructure. That isn't part of the instructional program that we do. It's not, it's inherent in what we teach, but it's not like an overt lesson.
I would say that it allows us to run the programs that we do. Life up here is not difficult. It's pretty simple because of those systems. And
would you say it's not complex or it's not difficult as the opposite of simple? It's simple here because it's not difficult, or it's simple here because it's not complex?
Can you refill my coffee before I answer this question?
I think there's a difference.
No, I agree. I absolutely see where you're coming
point.
from. Yeah, life here is not complex. There's not a lot going on. It's a very simple sort of lifestyle. And that's good because the systems work and are easy to manage once they know them, which they've been spent the last 2 days learning. But once they know those systems, a lot of the sort of daily worries of modern life aren't really there so much, and we can focus on and we can kind of focus on getting into the meat of the educational stuff that we're going to go over.
So what was it? Maslow's pyramid, where
hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, and so I think
so for those of you out there, the psychologist Abraham Maslow came up with this hierarchy of needs, which is it's a pyramid, and you can't move up a step on the pyramid until you've got those. That level of needs met. So the very basic level is things like food, sleep, and then you get up to, basic physiological needs. Then you get up to companionship needs, and it goes all the way up, and the top rung is self-actualization.
So I think a lot of what systems-based educational philosophy, and especially what we do here, is that we cover the basics. We make it so you can you can get all your bases covered in a simple way, because it is very simple when you break it down to the very core, and when you have a system in place, it becomes more automatic as it becomes habitual, and it makes you more able to focus on the higher needs as you get better at basically taking care of yourself in these simplicities of life.
Definitely. Yeah. But you guys ready to have your minds blown?
No.
It doesn't even matter that you're here, right? That's anywhere. We just overcomplicate modern life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
That modern life could easily be this simple, but there's too many shiny things and bells and whistles for people to kind of make it that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How else am I going to be comfortable if I'm not dragging my LCD screen in my canoe?
You drag it behind your canoe? You got a waterproof one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Nice. You're spending your money on things like food and, stuff that you quote-unquote need. I brought a TV and I drag it behind my canoe.
It's the things that matter.
It's the little stuff.
Well,
it's a big thing, actually, but it's the little things.
I was going to say.
I knew. I saw it in your eyes. I saw you going for my throat, and I thought, no, not today, Tim.
A big screen TV is not one of the little things. Big is not little.
Well, but yeah, I think that Colin put that really well, is that we kind of cover the bases for them, at least in camp. Once we get on trail, they cover those bases themselves, but while we're in camp, those basic needs are met, and that allows them to really focus on the stuff that we're teaching them, and really take that stuff and think about it deeply, rather than worrying about whether or not they're using any of the systems correctly, because they're simple and they're easy to understand.
Yeah, just to circle back, to put old Maslow's hierarchy needs here, the deeper points of educational philosophy can't be grasped by somebody who's starving and doesn't get any sleep, right?
Right.
And that's kind of what the point that we're making, that if you don't know how you're going to eat your next meal, you don't know where you're going to sleep, all the other things are sort of fall by the side until you get those basic things nailed down. And that's kind of what the systems-based approach that we have here does, is we try to get all those basic, simple living questions answered for everybody on day one so that we can immediately start focusing on the content of the course. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which just makes everything more rich. So, yeah, we'll just moving on a little bit to point 4 is that kind of dovetails really nicely to our ed philosophy. And yeah, we went 1, 2, 4 and skipped 3. So 3 will now be 4.
We don't play by your rules.
But yeah, the ed philosophy, the educational philosophy.
I was going to jump in and say, can you please call it educational philosophy? Because whenever you say ed philosophy,
It's
I
the
think
Ed
of
Butler
our good
philosophy.
friend, Working Class Woodsman, who's been on our podcast a few times. When you say ed philosophy, I immediately think of some nonsense he's talked to me about at some point.
Yeah, means a whole.
It's a whole other thing. So educational philosophy is what we're talking
I
about.
like ed philosophy because it means both. It means educational philosophy and Ed Butler philosophy.
I can't unsee that though. Like I can't. Like anyway.
Anyway, so we have a big thing, a big focus here, and especially the first few days or few weeks, everybody hears us say it a lot. And one of those sayings is process, not product. So we're really invested in learning the process and teaching the process of how to do something. And one of the beauties of that is that there's no one right answer. You know, it's not like you're in high school taking a math test and there's the right answer is, 374 over pi or something. Who cares? There's no right answer. So when we're focusing on the process, there are a lot of potential right answers. And I'm not trying to be weaselly and introduce some sort of BS educational relativism. That's not the point at all. The point is that when we're focused on the process, there can be other right answers. That doesn't mean if someone's going to try to carve a canoe paddle and it ends up looking like a fork or something, we're like, hey, it's all good. It's all, No, there are definitely wrong answers. There's definitely wrong answers.
There's 2 wrong answers out in the parking lot right now, actually.
There's definitely wrong answers, but there could be multiple right answers.
I think what the right answer is does it work? And even more so, does it work for you? So maybe you might carve a paddle that everyone else tries in the camp, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe they can't use it and they can't see how it works, how you use it. But maybe your paddle fits perfectly for you.
Case in point, my paddle is now lovingly referred to as the 10,200 mile paddle that I've had for I think 13, 14 years now, and the thing has covered over 10,000 miles with me. And some people refer to it as the club. It weighs in excess of 5.5 pounds. It's made out of one piece of ash. And I don't like whippy paddles, right? It's big, it's bulky, it doesn't flex, and that is perfect for me. I love that thing. And I remember years ago I was at Canoecopia giving talks and stuff, and I remember walking around and I talked to a guy who made his own carbon fiber paddles, and he told me, pretty good story, he told me, we make paddles for the U.S. Olympic paddling team, and they weigh 0.6 pounds out of carbon fiber. And then he looked at me and he said, oh, I heard you gave a talk. You make your own paddles. How much do yours weigh? And I was like, oh, my paddle weighs, I don't know, 6, maybe 7 pounds. And, jaws dropped and people thought I was lying, but I wasn't. But, that's the paddle that I really like. But anyway, focusing on the process and not the finished product allows us, it's not a template driven course, right? Where you don't have to, your thing that you make doesn't have to look exactly like everybody else's. Like Colin said, the end result is how it works.
Well, and I would say that the advantage of the process, not product, isn't just that maybe it's not just that maybe the end one is just for you. It's also that if the end result that you make is awful, you still know the process that you use to get there and can try again and make another one that's better. I think that's sort of, to me, that's the value of process, not product. It's not that we're making something that's very suited to us. It's just that when you learn things through the process, and the joke around here, the first one's for learning or screwing up, right? The first one maybe isn't great, but you see very quickly that you don't need a lot of infrastructure to go and try it again and make one that is better, because now you know what's bad.
Definitely. It means process, not product, means that you can replicate the process at some other time in some other place. Yes. So I wrote a blog post about this long way back, like 2005, 2006, about the process of making bows, right? And I think we both read about this in that book from 1896 about Swedish craft instruction.
Sloyd,
yes. Yeah. So the idea is that, if the student goes on a short course, the student's there, and the goal is to make a functional bow, the instructor does a lot of work on the student's bow, for example. And then at the end of the course, the student has a really nice bow, and in their mind thinks, geez, that instructor's awesome. They're really talented. But flip the script there, and if you're on a process, not product thing, the instructor never touches the student's bow. The instructor will guide the student and demonstrate on another piece of wood the techniques. But at the end of the process, the student has a bow they made 100% themselves, right? And they're thinking, wow, look at what I made. I'm really talented. Right. So there's the difference.
Yeah, and again, maybe, going back to the phrase, does it work? Does it work for me? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it fails. Maybe it doesn't work that time. But now, again, the process. You know how to do it, how to replicate that, and then so maybe the next time, maybe your next 4 or 5 bows suck. Maybe you carve too much one time. Maybe you don't carve enough next time. But again, you kind of whittle it down and you troubleshoot the system until it works for you, until you got it, and then it's ingrained and you can't mess it up.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty comfortable with how we covered that.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to talk about now is that it's the season of bounty here at the field
the
school.
HMS bounty?
Right. Yeah, we're making a replica. No, it's the season of wild food awesomeness here. So here at the field school, Northern Maine, maybe there's 46 weeks of the year where there's just not a whole heck of a lot of wild foods available out there in the plant world. I mean, there are always some. You can always dig roots and stuff, but we're sort of north of oaks. We don't have a lot of nuts and things. But there's 46 weeks without a lot of stuff. But we're in that 6-week window where everything is just about ripe. So yesterday we went for a walk. We've got a big abandoned apple orchard just adjacent to the field school. We've got about literally 15 tons of cherries, of pin cherries, choke cherries, and black cherries within about a half a mile walk of the field school. So there is so much wild food here now, so many calories that are out on the land. So yesterday, apples, cherries, blueberries, bunchberries, beaked hazelnuts. There's still some raspberries around. The high bush cranberries are almost ripe, not quite. The nanny berries are almost ripe. So there is just a ton of awesome wild food here now. And one of the things that we're going to work on today is we're going to work on fermenting foods. So fermenting foods is a great way to take those calories that are available on the landscape now.
In mass. So many of them. And
make them available to us, months or, potentially even years from now. So things that we're going to do is we're going to ferment we'll ferment some cabbage. We're going to make sauerkraut. We'll make spicy kraut. We're going to make some kombucha. I don't think we're going to make wine today, but that's a great way to take, sweet berries or berries with a lot of sugar in them that you don't like the flavor of and get those calories and use them later. So definitely the season of bounty here. So there's that bit in the movie Forrest Gump where they're talking about shrimp and, for about 2 hours, the 100 different ways that they like to eat shrimp. So around here, we do that, but with apples during the fall course because, I don't know, there must be 100 apple trees around here, and they're all loaded with apples, and we are eating all of them.
The one apple tree that just for some reason had no apples on it yesterday.
Yeah, we did find that one tree with no fruit.
None on the ground, nothing. Just witches.
Elves. Little elves.
Could be. Yeah.
For those of you in podcast land, Tim is frantically looking from Colin and I trying to figure out what just happened to this conversation about apples.
Yeah. So
elves,
elves and witches.
Strudel making elves living in a tree.
Like the Keebler elves? You think
definitely.
Did we find the Keebler elves?
We did.
I think so. I think that's what the.
So I'm gonna say that we wrap up this podcast and go and cut down that tree and capture these elves because I don't ever want to cook.
We don't want to cut down the tree. We want to get a bunch of cages. We can lock the elves in cages and make them work for us.
How are we gonna? if we cut down the tree, we could get them out of it. But we're aggressively agreeing with each other here, Tim.
We can trap them and leave the... Why cut the tree?
What do you bait an elf trap with?
What?
Well, we got plenty of apples from other trees.
Anyway.
Hey, look, gang, I found another apple.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, let somebody know. Share it around. Leave us a review wherever you listen to it. Something like that. And again, thank you for listening. Have a great day.